Man, we got all kind of stuff. We got Hoax Bluff, where I'm from. We got this one right here behind me. You can see that. That's Willie Nelson's Country Throwdown. You see this?
Willie Nelson, Jamie Johnson. I went to that. Was that in California?
Yeah. I mean, one of the there was 30 dates on that show, but it was me, Brent Cobb, Jamie Johnson, Randy Hauser, Lucas Nelson, Lee Bryce, Brantley Gilbert, Craig Campbell, Brent Cobb. Man, it was 2011, dude. That was our first tour.
And Willie Nelson. Was that the one that some one of you guys like went out and got real sunburned and barely could play that night or something?
Oh man, that sounds about right. I mean, I remember Lee Bryce getting so sunburned he couldn't move.
Yeah, I remember hearing, I think you or Brett Cobb was telling me a story that you guys went out in the ocean or something and almost did not make the show because of a little too much day partying, day drinking.
That would make sense. And that, I mean, we were what, 22 or 20, 25. So
What are you doing what are you doing did you just like literally get back in Nashville last night? You're on the road heavy right now, yeah?
yeah, we're on the road. We actually celebrated this weekend Easter. I love Easter to celebrate that weekend off. We didn't have any shows this weekend for the first time in about 2 months. So it was good to just kind of reset and sprayed some fields around the house that I've got working with some clover and just kind of ate too much. And my little boy Hawk he took his first steps the other day. So we're doing that and just had a good day with the fam and just kind of chilled out. We didn't really go anywhere. We just kind of chilled out here on Whitewood Hollow.
Yeah, man. I had a lot of downtime this week too. Now it's getting ready to be nonstop for the next 6 weeks with turkey hunts. And talk to me about that memorabilia behind you, though. As far as holding stuff close to your heart, have you done a good job, Drake White, in collecting that stuff and keeping it for the future, or has it been such a wild ride that you haven't had time? Do you feel you've done a good job of pumping the brakes and slowing down and realizing how blessed you are with a lot of those posters behind you? And I know there's a lot more that you haven't framed and hung up, but do you feel like you've done a good job of capturing how blessed you've been in your career?
Yeah, yeah, I really do. I mean, it's definitely not been a crazy like fast ride to the top. You followed it. You've been with us. We've been friends for over 10 years now, and for me, it all stems. Being from Alabama, I frequented the Floribama a lot, and I frequented this place called Red Bar. I'm pretty sure you've been to Red Bar, but the way that the memorabilia is on the walls there, I think that every man, maybe not every man, but like I am real privy to junk. Like I don't even call it junk, but over here I've got my Rangers flag that I got that when you came to me, we played for those 700 Army Rangers in Eglin, the Eglin base, and I just think that whole Red Bar kind of Floribama mentality has always been in me. My aunts are interior designers, and I've always liked the man cave kind of clubhouse and there's pictures of me and Kid Rock up here. There's pictures of me and Jamie and me and Willie. It just goes on and on. First deer kills, first rattlesnake kills, and that this room is kind of full of that for me, and I have to have that spot because we live these wild lives. So I do think I've done a good job at it. Yeah.
Do you feel like your communication with how does it work between artists? You guys are very private people. You're very busy, and you always seem to have to be on when it's touring time, studio time, songwriting time, media time, promotion time. How do you communicate within the realms of Nashville? Is it nothing for you to get up and text Bobby Ritchie or Kid Rock and say, hey, let's write today? Or text Jamie Johnson, say, hey, we're both in Alabama today. We're both from here. Let's write. Like, how does the communication among, or is it just, am I overthinking it? And it's just like a normal friendship and you guys just leave each other alone for the most part and might reach out once in a while?
I think it's more the latter, Chad, really. I mean, I don't, with baby now and Alex, my priorities when I'm here are, you know, are them and spending time with them, especially when you're on tour, when you're working on a record and that kind of stuff. And you know that of all people, having your little one. But really, diversification of time is something that I've paid attention to over the last really, really 10 years, but especially the last year and a half, 2 years since Hawk's been born. And, with whether it be Zach or, you know, Bobby or any of these guys, I try to just treat it like any other thing. If we're going somewhere, if I see something that he's interested in or I'm interested in, and a meme. There's a lot of memes that go around. But yeah, we don't. I try to just treat it like any other relationship because that time is so sacred that when you're with your kid or when you're at home, like when I'm at Whitewood Hollow, this is a lot of times my phone is in my house when I'm outside. Like I'm not even connected to it. And I think that's what fuels my muse and being able to be present with my dog and my kid and Alex. And that's the reason I like spending time with a 1-year-old golden retriever and a 1-year-old kid is because they have no concept of business or time, or they don't have an angle of what's tomorrow or what's behind them. It's what I wrote Back to Free for. It's what I wrote um, the new one I've got, Life, Love, and War. Um, the Optimistics, from that 7-year-old that's just learned how to ride a bicycle with no training wheels. That's what disconnecting to reconnect means to me.
You mentioned riding Back to Free. Um, do you talk about, I don't know how I should ask this. Do you talk about that album anymore?
Oh yeah.
Spark. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Do you freely talk about it? Do you like talking about it? Does it ever get brought up of how special that body of work was?
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. I've never been. I was raised by a bunch of kind of Alabama. I call it Alabama construction workers. And you know what that means, right? Like
Hmm.
just people that you swing a hammer, you go build the house. I mean, it. There's the house, there's the landscaping job, there's the things, and there's a toughness to that mentality of like, that body of work's done. Um, and there's an underdog type of mentality to the blue collaredness of what I grew up around, and I'm proud of that. But I don't consider myself underrated or an underdog. It just didn't really get. I've made a lot of changes in my career, and we've taken a long time to get where we're at, and I'll say we're in the best touring spot we've ever been. We're doing the best numbers we've ever done. And I attribute a lot of that to streaming. I mean, it really is like high school, man. This click up here in Nashville is like high school. And you know what I mean by that? It's like running for prom king or whatever. And a lot of us as artists are are not like that. So it's very important to connect with the artist and say, you know what? I feel like I'm competing with myself. So to answer your question, Spark for me was never, obviously it was never as big as I thought it should be. I loved that record. I thought it was something that was, and I still think it's a phenomenal record, or I wouldn't have released it. I'm very proud of that record, and still think it's got life in it. I still think there's songs on that record that the masses have not heard.
Oh, I think it's song to song one of the best albums. I mean, it very easily could have been nominated for Album of the Year that year. You had a huge hit with "There You Go, Making Me Look Good Again" on it, but there's so many just great stories. I mean, I could talk about it till I'm blue in the face, Drake White. That album was a masterclass in country music, country writing, song to song, taking the listener on an experience that just brought him in and out of so many, like even the last song about waiting on the whiskey to work. Is that the last song on there, or was
I
Elvis the
think
last song?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's
Wait, Waiting on the
um
Whiskey to Work is just a great Drake White country song.
yeah.
You mentioned streaming. You mentioned high school mentality of running for you know, prom king and homecoming king and queen and all that. What is the temperature like in Nashville right now? It's a melting pot of a lot of different music. There's a lot of stuff in there, a lot of stuff coming out of Nashville that I would not deem traditional country music, but it's been that way for a while. Heck,
Mhm.
you might not even consider everything you do traditional country music. I don't even know what traditional country music means anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
are there traditional, like, I think John Party's country, but he's like a George Strait kind of country. And I'm talking people that are like mainstream right now. Uh, what is the temperature like? How do you go about your day, Drake? Like figuring out what you want. Are you in your lane and your numbers are growing? You're building this fan base, this cult following, and and that's what you're happy with. That's what your concentration is, and you've done past those days of trying to figure out what's going on 16th and 17th Avenue.
No, um I think yeah, I mean I've always just kind of done what I felt, you know. You go write, try not to overthink it. You go and write your songs and you put it out there, and whatever it is what it is, you know. I try to have fun. This is fun. I started doing this for fun, and it became my career and it became something I'm very passionate about. But the temperature in Nashville is really exciting right now. Um, it's because of the diversity of streaming and just the boom of Nashville in general and all of LA moving, a lot of LA people, New York people, a lot of people wanting to get into these. I think it's a I think it's a turn towards the morals and the values of the land and of how you can be in Nashville and be here. And I mean, you've been to my spot, like it's. I mean, you're in the country. You're in the country at John Party's spot out here, and it's the business is always competitive. And we have this group of people that meet together, and a group of artists. There's 30 or 40 of us that if I said all 30 of them, you would know them. And we met together, and a very good point was made, Chad, and that our the suits of this business, meaning labels, lawyers, um, the music business, they meet every day for lunch, and they exchange publishers, they exchange information, right? They talk to each other. They are in direct competition with each other. Like they are competing. Warner's competing with Universal. Universal's compete. They're competing, right? They share stories every day. They share information. They share numbers. They share all this stuff. We opened up the can of worms of, as an artist, especially a man with this competitive nature, we're all competitive. You know, I'm very competitive, and we can get to that. My preacher talked about that yesterday in our service. We can get to the competitive nature of humans, but as a artist, I'm extremely competitive in that I want to win, and not only do I want to win, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna like that's my mentality. I'm gonna figure out a way to win. But why don't we talk to each other? My point is, all those lawyers and suits talk to each other every day and exchange information. Why don't we as artists get together and exchange information? Hey, this is how much I just bought a bus. This is how much my bus cost. This is how much. Watch out for that I-65, that part right there. That wore my tires out. Watch out for that promoter. That promoter screwed me. Watch out for this guy, or this guy's absolutely great. Why don't we? It's all managers having these conversations, and you do have to rely on those managers some, but you have to, being an independent artist now, I've really learned my business, buying my bus, learning my logistics, learning how much it cost me to go to St. Petersburg and go to Tallahassee, play those shows. And I've always been pretty good at it. But like now, why are we not as artists getting together and saying, hey, this is how you This is how you rent equipment. You don't do what the manager's saying and rent the equipment all year. If you're doing 60 shows this year, do your 60 shows in 3 months and rent it for 3 months. That's going to save you a $200,000 or $100,000. Why aren't we sharing that information? Because that's what makes this business. That's what makes you be able to continue recording music. You've watched me. Like, there's no reason. I've had so many opportunities to quit, whether it be health or, there's no big explosion of commercial success right off the bat. But I am extremely proud and happy of the scenic route that I've had to take and got to take. I consider it an honor to have these calluses on my heart and my hands, that I'm out here doing it. And the songs are and the albums, prove that. And the friendships and the people that I'm healing and what God has flipped on its back and shown that, man, yeah, you've had a lot of heartache and all that competitive nature. You've spent a lot of time up bedside going, why not me, or why not this, or why not that? But it's all paying off. And I've just kind of chilled out in the last, definitely since the injury, man. It's like it was a perspective shift of like what's important. My songs are important, winning's important, records are important, but it's not the most important thing. And it's freed it up. It's freed up the pressure. Does that make sense?
100%. Do you ever try to look inside the Drake White crystal ball and see what's going to happen with all of the calluses on your heart, the calluses on your hands, the ladders you've climbed, the roadmap that you have not followed but paved your own way to get to where you're at now? Do you ever want to know what's next? Do you ever? I know you don't get in a hurry, and that's the point, is that you've slowed down, you pump the brakes, and you're letting it happen. But what can happen out of this, Drake? What can become of the Drake White career right now with all of this momentum and all of these sold out shows? This great body of music that keeps a crowd entertained for an hour and a half, hour 45, 2 hours. Do you ever look in the crystal ball and wonder what can happen? Because I don't know. What can happen in the music industry? Is anything possible?
Yeah. I mean, it always has been, man. I mean, and that's my mentality. Um, I think that I'm enjoying myself. I don't my heart is fulfilled going out there and sharing my story, sharing how you come from a stroke and come back out of that. And then these songs came from it, and this song came from it. And I understand now why God, I'm starting to understand and understanding why God brought me through all that stuff, to where I was pissed off at first and I was like, why me? Now I understand why God brought me through that struggle, is to where I could use that testimony and that test to create a testimony that was worthy of, there's an authority that comes with that. Like, and my intentions have always been good. But now I just kind of trim the fluff and the fact that, like, man, it's pretty simple to me to keep good people around me, keep loving my heart, and all this. Like, let me and just keep moving forward. And that sounds very simple, but I will say this: I'm still I still the competitive SOB that's going to get up and go, dadgummit, I wish them tires would have came in. That's what I'm waiting on right now, is a set of tires for, and our dadgummit, that song, Riley should have cut that song, or, Jamie didn't call me back, or like, what is, and I'm just making stuff up. But like, all that stuff goes through my head, but now I have the tools, Chad, um, of like knowing what to do with those thoughts, the negative thoughts. And I'm calling them negative thoughts because it is anything that takes away from the momentum or the energy that is uh pushing towards great innovation and great songs and great stuff. Like, I consider that something taking from me. You know what I mean? You're either given or you're taken. And so for me, I just try to stay in that mindset, and I have to work at it really, really hard. It's not easy. I have to work at it really hard because there's way more negative. The negative's way louder than the positive. You have to seek out the positive. But I've become a very, very efficient optimist in the fact that I named my last record after it. The optimistic is keeping your glass half full through the mystery of life. And if people on here have heard me talk, I may sound like a broken record, but damn it, man, like that's what I've learned through the stroke and learning how to walk again and watching Alex navigate, you know, fertility issues, and then watching God's grace just pour over us over and over again, watching the bank account, what happened to it? Oh, but now it's back. And then watching you guys lend a hand, Brandon Adams lend a hand, my friends, my people that come, and then watching it all disappear, like people, going through COVID and people not calling anybody back and not understanding why that was happening. And then the benefit for the brain happenings, like, oh, it is working. Just keep going and understanding that, like, enjoying the process is something that I'm daily um pursuing, like remembering, hey, remember to enjoy the process. Remember you're doing great. Remember you are winning, and remember what are you learning here, and how are you helping others through that, you know.
How does, as social media has taken us, it seems like everybody has credibility now. Everybody's got a channel. Everybody has authority. Everybody has the ability to get their message out there. And hey, it's evolution. It happens. You gotta keep up with the Joneses. You talked about not looking at the negative in things, and it's harder to find the positive in things. What how do you as a man use these tools? Because country music has changed, man. You can get a record deal off of TikTok now instead of coming up in the honky tonks for 20 years like you guys did, and Travis Tritt did, and a lot of my heroes in country music, the way they came up. You can't argue the fact that it's different now. You can just put out a song on a social media platform and get some notoriety and start selling tickets and get a record deal potentially. How do you navigate social media now, Drake? Do you stay off of it? Do you use it as a tool and that's it? How do you keep it? Because me personally,
Yeah.
I try not to follow I try not to follow anything. I want to stay in my lane. I want to work on what I'm working on. Of course, I hear what's going on in this industry of duck and goose hunting and the outdoors, and our competition in bandit and our competition in the foul life and jargon, whatever it may be. I try to keep it out of my psyche and just keep doing me. Is it almost impossible with how much is out there to follow these other musicians? Does it weigh on you like it weighs on me if you get on there and use that as more than just a tool to keep your music in front of people? If that question makes sense.
Yeah. I just don't. I think the perspective shift of, you know, having the kid, and I don't mean to discount what you're saying, because like I obviously have. I mean, I've been jealous before. I don't consider myself a jealous person, but I've been jealous. I've seen. I've asked, why not me? I've asked, oh man, is my time up? Am I to this? Am I to that? Why am I not? You know. So for me, social media is a tool to reach the masses independently. And so I focus on the good things that it is. TikTok's a bit of a conundrum because it's just a wilder west thing. But so I have a great content curator in Zach Knudsen, and Devin's wife Kirsten helped me a lot with TikTok because she's really really good at it and talented. So it's back to proximity is power. Like the things that I can't do well, that I don't necessarily enjoy, that do not give me fill my tank up, is sitting by a computer and trying to edit a video to be cool or perfect. Like, no, that's I know what's cool. I know what I want it to feel like and look like and smell like, but I can't sit at this computer for 2 hours and edit a video. That's not who I am. But I'm not. So I put those people around me and I pay them, to make my socials look and feel amazing. Because at the end of the day, from a business standpoint, it's my job. Like I have the ability to sit here, and the pandemic proved that with the barn shows, and I can sing to 10,000 people for $100 of upfront cost. Doesn't cost me anything. Well, to go sing to 1,500 people in St. Petersburg, Florida, well, that cost me $3,200 to get down there, to get everybody down there, to get the band or whatever it is, the gas, so you're you have to use it. Same way with AI. I'm not afraid of any of this stuff because it's just evolution. Either you're going to get on the AI train or you're going to get left behind, because that's some brilliant stuff. Like, it saves a lot of time. So I dabble in the stuff that intrigue me, and then the stuff that's taking away from me, like, you know what I mean? Like, that gummit, I hit enter and it erased the whole damn thing. What am I doing? Then you're back, and I'm listening to my baby down there cry or learn to walk, and you're like, I'm up here. That's the gut thing of like, oh well, let me get down there and let Zach handle this. Let me delegate this. So I try. If I'd be lying to you, Chad Belding, if I told you that I didn't get jealous every now and then, or if I didn't see something and go, dang, that's cool, I wish I'd have thought of that. That's just life. I mean, but am I more towards the latter of what you were explaining of like staying in my lane, staying in my thing? Like, dude, I don't even, I love the right now, Muscadine Bloodline, Red Clay Strays, Brent Cobb, Tyler Childers, Stapleton's obviously the best of, in my mind. It's like, do I not, am I not fans of those guys, and can I not root for those guys? Absolutely. But do I want to beat them? Yeah. Yeah, I want to beat them. I don't even know what that looks like. But you don't have to beat them. We're not in competition. There's room for all of us. There's room for the Beyonce stuff that's happening. There's room for red and yellow, black and white, man. It's music, dude. It's all good. Like, everybody can come in here, and I love streaming and and the voice that it's giving everybody, and what socials are giving everybody. Like, bring it on. You know, if you've honed in your craft to where you can amass hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers, then good on you, man. And if it was a fluke, it'll show itself pretty soon. I've been doing this for going on 20 years, man. And I'll never stop, because this is my God given talent. And this is what makes me happy. You'll see. So my spirit's good, man. My spirit's good with that stuff. And I feel like at 40, I'm mature enough, not like it goes in waves, but I feel like I can catch myself, go, no, just click on and keep doing what you're doing. You're doing good.
Are you telling me that it doesn't matter who you are, you have a place in country music? What is considered country music? Beyonce can put out a song called Texas Hold'em and just be a country music artist now. Like, she's never paid her dues as country artist. She's got talent. I'm not ever going to say that. But you're telling me with what you just said, Drake White, that it doesn't matter who you are. I don't care race, creed, color. I don't care about any of that. But you're telling me that it doesn't matter who you are, what you write about, what you sing about, what attitude you portray, what ideologies you portrayed. Anybody can be a country music artist now? Is it okay that Jelly Roll was in prison forever? Or not forever, but he went and he got all these tattoos, and now all of a sudden he says, I'm back and I'm a good person and I am the face of country music. This is all okay. Beyonce gets a song on the radio. This is all okay. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm simply asking questions of like, what is a country music artist? When I grew up, I thought Merle Haggard was a country music artist, and Don Williams and Waylon, but maybe they had pasts that weren't really what country music is. Have we been trying to define this country music artistship too much to where there's really no definition for it? Nelly's gone country music. There's rappers on country music. There's R&B singers on country music. Justin Timberlake, who was in a boy band, has been on country music. He lives in Nashville part-time, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Are you telling me that anybody can be in country music?
Well, I see how this answer, which I haven't thought about the answer, and I'm going to think about it before I answer it. But my red flags going off in the fact that this is one of those things that can be taken out of context. If I just casually said, well, yeah, everybody's welcome, you know. So I don't want that to happen, and I'm not really worried about that. I don't care. At the end of the day, your question is you ask about the morals and the values. Well,
Yes,
everybody,
that's a great way to put it, Drake. Is there's used to be morals and values of country music and the country lifestyle, in
yeah,
my opinion. It
yeah,
just I was brought up on good storytelling, country music, Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Mark Chestnut, Merle Haggard. Like there was morals and values. There was drinking, and there was sex, and there was life. But is there no more of that to become part of this unbelievable group of artists that were deemed country music? I don't know. I don't. That's what I'm asking. Sorry to interrupt you.
no, no. Well, I mean, it's the lust of the flesh. I mean, in Galatians 5:6, it goes back to the Bible for me every time, and that may turn a lot of people off in this on this thing, but I don't. That's where the basis of everything that I speak about or write about comes from. Is a filter through that. I hope that's what I was raised to do, and I've watched that the biblically. I've watched it be my shield, and I've let it, it's been confusing at times, and I've brought it up and tried to read it and tried to get through the stroke with it, and it just keeps giving to me and keeps living and keeps moving. The word does, and it is the lust of the flesh. All of that stuff. We're always going to have. It's always going to keep expanding, expanding, expanding. As far as whatever you want to call it. I mean, some people don't want there to be. Some people would say that a risque song back in the day was what uh, I feel like a woman. I mean, that wouldn't have worked in the 50s. Wouldn't have worked in the 40s. Whatever. I feel like a woman. Like women didn't even whatever. Women's rights have came a long way in 40, 50 years. So that's something to be proud about. Um, I think whether you talk about Cardi B, or you talk about one of the edgier, provocative, man, that's art. For me, provocative stuff like dude, I love Jesus. I will declare it on this thing, and I want him to be exalted at all cost. But every human has the right to go down the path that they want to go down. And if you're an artist and you choose this one or that one, then that's your choice. And I can't judge it. You can't judge it. The only person that can judge it is God himself. And man, it's a slippery question, Chad. It really is. I'm dancing around it a little bit, but I think, I think, yeah, make your art, make your music, and let the people decide if it's country. Let let I mean, would Brantley Gilbert have been country, years ago? I don't know. He's talking about dirt roads. He's talking about what you deem as country. Would some kid from Reno be talking about the same country as some kid from Alabama? I don't know. No, no, because it's not the same country. It's a totally different country. There's a uh, there is a in Alabama, there's a church and a gas station on every corner, and in Reno, there's a brothel and a and
Strip club.
a strip club and a casino on every corner. Your country is going to be different, man. And I'm, as an artist, as I grow older, I get more conservative. But man, I'm for the storyteller, man. That's what good country music is to me. It is the story. And man, uh we put rhyme to the reason, man. We put it into words of what you're trying to articulate. Man, what does that ocean mean to you? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? And so I am kind of there's a part of me that says, you know what, Merle Haggard or bust. And that's a good tough answer, right? That's an
Yeah.
Alabama hammer swinging. But man, then you go listen to like Michael Franti. Are you listening to Dave Matthews? Dave Matthews has got country songs all day, like it. If it's country to me, then it's country, if it's country, it's so subjective. That's why music is. We shouldn't argue on what is country and what is not country. We should we should push and help artists create more freely and create and push them to elevate their creations. That's what's going to make better art. That's what made Athens do what Athens did in the Greek times. That's what's making Nashville pop right now, because there's an influx of all this money coming from where? From streaming and from the internet and from who knows. And so it's giving some of these artists that you wouldn't see normally the freedom, because they got $500 a month coming in or $800 a month, where they're putting it back in their music. So I think that's a good thing. And I'm not just trying to be sunshine and rainbows. It is a very slippery question you ask, my friend. And I think whether we like it or not, democracy, this 400-year-old country, or however old we are, this country, a democratic society, says freedom of speech. Well, if you have this outlet and you can go write you a song and you can put it out of your brother, sister's, cousin's garage, then go for it, man. Go for it, chick. That's because that's what I did. I was nothing, man. I was, we were, I mean, I've always been something because I'm a child of God, but like I was double wide trailers in Northeast Alabama, going to Nakalula Falls for $10 and eating a hamburger and a hot dog. And that's how I grew up. And that's how this country is growing up. And they're fine. That's a great way to grow up. Write your song and get it out. I'm for it, man. I'm for it. And that could be fentanyl addiction and hookers and blow to some. And that could be mud and trucks and Jesus and red worms and a coffee can to some. Who's to say what's right?
It's a great way to put it. When I bring up the name Jelly Roll, he has a great story. Is Jelly Roll somebody in a day that, I don't know, you might disagree with this, but it seems like there's a lot of collaborations going on in country music. I don't know if it's a strategy by labels to get their names out there. If Jelly Roll comes on with Justin Moore, or Drake White comes on with Zach Brown, whatever it is, it seems like a strategy, and I'm sure it is. You can answer that. But do you think about this part of the business, this strategy of like, every day I wake up, there's a new song out. It's either a duo with two men, a duet with a man and woman. Is it called a duet when it's a woman and woman? Like, there's a lot of this going on. Are you strategizing your playbook, Drake White, to follow this? Like, do you wake up and work with your management and say, okay, I want to reach out to Jelly's camp. Jelly's hot right now. If I get a duet or a duo with Jelly, that could be big. I might be on tour, whatever. There's just all these strategies going on. How is your coaching staff strategizing that? How is your playbook being written right now? Or is it just all eyes forward? We're going to tour as much as we possibly can and keep building our audience. How do you strategize this game plan in country music today?
Well, I mean, good and well that it's always it's a business. It's the music business, and that's a great strategy to go. It's mitigating risk at its finest. Risk to go and diversify into two. Somebody like Jelly and myself, say we did a duet. Well, I'm an independent artist. Well, he has a full label staff. We go write a great song together. And Jelly says, "Oh, hey, I'm going to put Drake on it." Well, yeah, that's going to be great for me. It's going to be great for him too, because it's all about a mutually beneficial relationship. And a lot of times managers can really, really help with that. And I've got a great one. And a lot of times managers can really, really get in the way, because there is a ego associated with, well, we're the biggest thing. But what I love about we're the biggest thing, or they're the biggest thing. But what I love about friendships and art, and whether it be a Luke Combs or a Zach Brown, like if I hear a great song, if Jelly hears a great song, I know Jelly, I know him well, and I want to comment on Jelly a little bit, because he is a unbelievable symbol of what needs to happen and should happen in this genre. I love that man to death. the egos in art, a good song is a good song, you know, and it will sink, it'll swim, it'll do whatever, but it always needs a team to push, to push it. I've got There's a lot of great songs that I heard Vince Gill say this. There are a lot of great songs that are not hits, and there's a lot of shit songs that are hits. And that's just the way of the world, and that's the way of commerce. And I try to live um, where commerce and art intersect, you know, and that's a slippery, as slippery as that question you asked, that slope is. But yes, duos and things like that just diversifies risk, and it allows a bigger team. So if I've got 10 people on my team, you got 10 people on your team, and you make an army of 20 that are all pushing the same way, well, you're getting the votes, you're getting the this, you're getting the Grammys, you're getting the this. Like, it just works all together. And there's some talented people that know that, but it starts with a song and it starts with a relationship with the artist.
Okay, so let's just get this out there because I'm a fan of this man called Jelly Roll. I'm a fan of hip hop. I'm a fan of gangster rap. I'm a huge fan of Eminem. You and I have had many discussions. I remember sitting on a bus with you in probably 2010, 11 in Minnesota, um, talking about your admiration for hip hop and the freestyle method of rapping and that. And you have a lot of talent when it comes to that. So when you talk about the admiration for this man called Jelly Roll and you look at his past, and I don't know a lot about his past, I just know that Jesus saved him. He's a God-fearing man. He's not afraid to talk about where he came from and how he went to prison and how now he gives back. He gives back to kids. He gives back to orphans. He gives back to prisons and confinement and people that are struggling in life. He lets his story be told through his song and his lyrics. I'm a fan of what he does. Why has he been so well received by the Nashville community, such as yourself, the people that he's worked with, the people that he plays for? Elton John has hugged him in public. Bruce Springsteen has hugged him in public. There's been many more. Why has this man been so well received? Is it because of his transparency and his honesty and his ability to say, Jesus saved me, I'm a God-fearing man, I'm on my knees, I need help? Like, what made this man be so well received to where when he woke up one day, he sold out Bridgestone Arena, and ever since that day, it seems like he's just been on this climb that's going pretty vertical right now?
Authenticity. Um, you know, what we saw, what you see is the Bridgestone thing. I mean, there's probably 15 years of him working in Antioch on the corner trying to you know, pedal CDs to try to figure out how to rap and get through addictions, hurts, habits, hangups, all that stuff. And um, it's it's really the grace of God. Um, all God's doing in a story like Jelly Roll is, I look at it now, as you look at this guy, big dude, tattoos, not your quintessential country dude. And you hear this story of incarceration. You hear these horrible decisions he made, and you hear all this stuff, and society had just thrown him away. It takes a miracle like God and people that a miracle like Jesus and the sovereignty of him on all seeing, all knowing power to see that. And all it does is give Jelly the opportunity to go, you know what? Jesus saved me. And this is the reason that I'm out here doing this. And I may MF and I may have tattoos on my face and I may roll 10 joints a day, but I love Jesus and he saved me. And it's a different conduit that our all sovereign, all knowing God uses to exalt his name. And that's all it is. So there's so many instances where people say, oh, well, their kid drowned. How do you explain that? Well, I've also seen a kid drowned and a guy like, uh, man, I love this guy's book. He's got the yee stuff. What's his name?
Granger
Granger
Smith.
Smith. Granger Smith is, sorry, Granger. I love Granger and consider him a friend. But look what he's doing. Look what a kid drowned. How do you explain a sovereign God, an all-knowing God that lets a kid drown? How do you explain somebody that let your dad pass away? Like that hurts the pain, but look at the story that Granger is planning, is leaving behind. He's going, you know what? This is what this is what God knows that Jelly going through all that stuff, that he was going to flip it one day in 2023 and win new artists of the world of country music. And he knew he was going to flip it and give him the glory. And that's all he's concerned with as Christians. And as I understand the Americanized Christian version, I don't want anything to do with that. Like, I understand that a lot of people have a sour taste in their mouth when it comes to religion or when it comes to the Christian way or Christian thing. But I'm telling you, I've been through the valley. Like, I've died twice on the table, been brought back, saw angels, seen the saving power, and seen the all-knowing sovereign power of God. And Jelly is part of that. Granger Smith is part of that. Like, how can you ever justify a kid dying? Well, maybe somebody that's had a kid die that is completely out and suicidal picks up Granger Smith's podcast or picks up his book or picks up Jelly and say, you know what? Here's a guy that was cocaine, fentanyl, everything. And if he can make it, I can make it. So I need to know about this guy named Jesus. That's all it is, man. It's all it is. And it's beautiful.
When you talk like that, Drake White, it motivates people like myself. My girlfriend Anna is a Southern Christian, God-fearing woman. You met her daughter Tater. You were gracious enough to bring her on stage and like made her dreams come true at 10 years old.
Yeah.
You're doing things like this on a daily basis, leaving them in your wake of there's this path that you've taken, but you're also leaving these little snippets like that one little special night in Gainesville, Georgia meant the world to human beings that you might have woke up the next day and you were on to the next. I'm not saying that psychologically you don't think about it of how special that moment was, but you're creating these moments for human beings on the daily. How does it affect you? And I'm kind of taking a selfish approach to this question because we've all burnt bridges. We've all let birds. There's a song by one of the greatest songwriters in the history of the world, in my opinion, that talks about I crossed the bridge and I lit on fire and I got over there and I wondered how I'm going to get back now because I just burned it. It's called "It's Not Easy Being Me" by the great Chris Knight. Is he arguably one of the finest of all time?
No, for sure. I love Chris.
Okay, so we agree on that Kentucky guy. But how do you work it now, Drake? I'm 49. I want to go back and fix some things. I don't want those bridges to stay burnt.
Mm-hmm.
Do you wake up and think about like fixing things from the past like I do? Or does it happen naturally if you take Jesus on like you just described Jelly Roll did, and they'll come back around and give you the opportunity to make a wrong a right? Will I have a chance to make my wrongs a right? Does this question make sense? Because every day I think about like, how can you be so the opposite of what you're supposed to be and find so much success and have all of this stuff not handed to you, because I know hard work plays in it. But I always thought that the better the person you were and the nicer the person you were, that you're going to be the one that's on top. And that's not always the case. I made mistakes. I found success. I went through a lot of trials and tribulations to get success. I never really chased success, but looking back, I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't handle that situation right. That was the wrong way to be with when you bring in the effect of the human spirit. How do you navigate that in your life now? Does it play a role, or do you think if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and if it's meant to be fixed, it'll come back around and we'll have the opportunity? Or do you seek fixing anything like I do? Or is that the wrong way to be?
No, this is great, man. This is a great question. I mean, I think that if it's on your heart, if you burn a bridge or if you have a beef with somebody and it's on your heart and you still haven't said your piece about it, and you're like, man, I wish they knew my heart. I think it's important to, I don't know if that's a handwritten letter. I don't know if it's a text. I don't know if it's a voicemail or an email. Whatever. I have this thing that I do where I pray about it. If I feel it on my heart, hey man, I need to call my, I'm making this up, but I need to call Paul. Um, and it could be 5 years ago. Man, I really got him on my heart, and I wanna fix it. Um, maybe a letter pops in my head. We'll write him a letter, or shoot him a text, or whatever idea that comes to your head. Like at that point, to me, it's anointed. Like it came in your heart for a reason. And if you're following the right path and your intentions are right, and you are following Jesus, and you're following, you know, you're trying to be a good steward of his word and a good steward of your heart, and he is in your heart, then you have to follow. Say it's a letter, and you write them a letter, man, and you send it to them, and you don't hear back, man, it's gone. And dude, I got a buddy that died with a, died basically because of drugs. His kidneys shut down. And I mean, I was really good friends with this guy. I mean, I loved it. I loved him. I hadn't talked to him in 6, 7 years. I mean, I had business with him. I brought him to Nashville and helped him out a lot. And he stole from me, and he this and he that. And but he died without me being able to tell him, without, and he tried to call me a couple of times. And my Alabama attitude was like, you know, and by the way, I use these free, my rough around the edges attitude was like, you know what? I don't have time for him. Like if he's gonna steal from me, like I'm not gonna answer my phone. But he did leave a voice message, and he did apologize. But that guy died before I had the opportunity to shake his hand again. And I never thought that would be the case. So all I'm saying, anybody that's listening out there, if you have something, and you're talking to somebody that's almost died at 35 too, by the way, if you have something pressing on your heart, you better go make it right. And if you mail them the letter and they never get back to you, that's on them. That is on them. It is on them. My hands are up. I did what I could do. Lord, you give me the opportunity, however you see fit. And that's all I do. And I don't have a lot of these instances. I don't think I have too many enemies. If I have, I don't have, if I have any enemies, I don't know of it, but I'm not very comfortable to be around all the time. I'm a competitive dude. I'll dig my heels in the ground and say what I think's right. I'm not a, I'm not just a yes man. My yes is my yes, and my no is my no. And I strive for perfection. And if that makes you uncomfortable, then I'm out the door. It's just the way it is. And that's rubbed some people in my time. Um, but my intentions are right now. Like, and they always really have been. But I am I'm not afraid to admit that I've been wrong some, and I've tried to make them right. But you send that letter, you send that call it that lifeline, and they don't reciprocate, then that's on them.
I agree with that. I think that there is, a letter might be a weird example if people can always say, well, I didn't get it. But if you do put the effort out there
Yeah.
and call them or text them or DM them and you're making a valid effort, then I guess it's in their hands now.
Well,
You've
let's
put it
relate
out
it to
there.
hunting, since this is a hunting type podcast. It's a everything podcast, but like hunting, and maybe this is a stretch, but like I've been out there and been so, you know, with ducks. I've been so blessed to hunt in places like Prairie Wings or um, Honey Break or these places, and I got the doors opened through people like you and through people like Brandon Adams and these guys and Drew Keith and those opportunities to go out there and fail to go out there. What I'm trying to make an analogy of is like you can go out there and fail 10 times and be successful once in the timber, and you're a successful hunter. You know what I mean? Like what it is, the persistence of showing up with a heart that I want to do this, that I want to pursue this. I'm trying to pursue peace. I'm trying to pursue love, patience, kindness, the fruits of the spirit, because God is in my heart. Jesus is in my heart. I'm trying to pursue this animal. And dude, it may be 2 seasons with whitetail. It may be 10. My dad's never killed a over 140-inch deer. Poor guy. And it's like he keeps going because what is it? It's about showing up and and understanding what's in the woods that day, or showing up and understanding what's in their heart. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know why they didn't return the call. I'm, full transparency. I'm waiting on a call right now. I've probably got, I don't, I don't, I try not to take myself too serious, and the injury has definitely helped that ego down. But I've got a really good friend that I've probably got 5, 6, 8 text messages into, and we've all got them. And I, I haven't, I don't know why. I don't know why he hasn't texted back. We have some great things. We have some great memories. We have great family time together. And it's just like, well, that's on him. That's on him, you know.
But it's eating at you, or you wouldn't have sent number 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
I don't really, I don't really let it. No, if I'm being full transparency, it obviously has ate at me. I don't let it eat at me day after day. Like it's not something that takes my emotional bandwidth up every day. Like I don't think about it every day. I just really love this dude, and it's like, you know,
Have you ever ghosted somebody, Drake White?
um,
The art of ghosting is such a cop out. It's so easy. It's so easy because you have this network of people that you've built across this country. I can't just get in my car and drive over and knock at your door
yeah,
and be like, "Hey, dude, what's up?" You know, like I could if I wanted to invest a couple $1,000s on some plane tickets and hotel rooms and such, but um, you could easily ghost a lot of people that you've met in Louisiana or California or Washington or England. You've been all over the world playing your shows. Have you ever ghosted somebody because they're
I
like,
don't think I have on purpose. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, there's a very high level of frequency that I'm working at, and I demand that frequency, and that seems pretty harsh. And some people jive with that type of talk, and some people are like, well, man, like it's chill too. At the same time, everybody wants to be the laid back, chill dude, and I believe I've accomplished that at times in my life, and um, but there's a frequency that I demand, and if you're not, if you're coming to me with the same issues that we were dealing with in high school, like, yeah, I'm sure there's some guys from high school I had to cut loose. It's kind of that Snoop Dogg. I know you've seen the Snoop Dogg stuff because you love Snoop. Like, you got to cut those people out. And so there's definitely people I've cut out for sure. So if that's ghosting, yeah, I've probably ghosted some people because it's necessary coming from a small town, coming from any town. Anybody wants to pull me, like, I'm going to Madison Square Garden, and that's what's in my heart. That's what's been in my dreams. And to quote Dave Chappelle, like, I'm a very powerful dreamer. You know,
Wait a minute, wait a minute. You play New York and you've done a great job in building a fan base in a lot of different regions of this world, this country. You just said that you're going to play Madison Square Gardens as an artist. You're going to sell out because people that play Madison Square Gardens don't go there and not sell it out.
yeah.
What is it? I was literally just going into this question as you talked about as you talk about these different levels of your career. You're selling out everywhere right now. How do you build on that type of momentum? Is it something that you strategize with your management, or how do you cut it out of going, you know what? We're going from 2,500 seats to 12,000 or whatever Madison Square Garden is. How do you make that jump, and how long does it take?
Well, man, with hunting, you go out there and you go, like, let's take whitetail hunting for example. And you go out there and you go, oh, I'm 10 years old. I'm going to go climb a tree stand, and you don't pay attention to the wind. You don't pay attention to anything. You go up there because you have the time and you climb up it, but you learn from it. The deer comes out, it busts you. Okay, I'm not going to sit here again. I'm going to sit over here when there's a northwest wind, and I'm going to make sure that. And the next time you go, that happens. Well, you go play. You go play. You go have an opportunity where you go play for 200 people in New York. All right, and then you chip away. You don't have any money, but you're figuring it out. And you drive a van into New York for the first time, and you almost get uh, ganked in Hell's Kitchen and all the stuff that has happened in New York. But you go play that 50 capacity, and it costs you money. And you go in there, but you played New York City. And then here comes Zach. Somebody comes around and somebody pops, and they give you an opportunity to come play in front of 40,000. So you play in front of 40,000 at Met Stadium with Zach Brown. All right. Well, you go back to hunting. You go back the next time, and you're turned 16, and you take all these lessons and you stack the odds. All right. Now I'm going to sharpen and get down all the way down to sharpening my broadheads, because when that broadhead enters the cavity of the deer, it's going to cut and do more damage, which is going to be more lethal shot. So I skipped a bunch of steps, but like you're stacking the odds. So now I went from these 200 capacity venues where, man, I probably shouldn't eat donuts. Those donuts, that pizza was good. I love New York pizza, but I'm not doing it this time because last time I was sluggish. That's stacking the odds, saying I'm not going to eat pizza. Oh, I'm going to do it. Now I'm going to do an ice bath, and I'm going to do a sauna, and I'm going to do a breathing treatment, and I'm going to get together and pray with my guys. That's stacking the odds. So you're stacking them. And then I have the power, and you do too, and anybody out here listening, to manifest anything that they want in this world. I have said the Madison Square Garden thing because that's one of the most renowned places in our country, right? Everybody knows what that is. Every time I voice it, I'm putting that frequency in the air that I'm going to pack out Madison Square Garden. So then the fans go, I'll be there. I'll be there. He said he was going to do this. Drake's going to pack out Madison Square. How's he going to do it? So you ask, how am I going to do it? It's by thinking like this every day. It's by sticky notes on my window, and then going and working out and creating the body I want, the temple I want, creating the voice, the songs that I want, from writing, even, you know, calling my friends, your Jonathan Singletons and your guys out there that have been so great to pick up the phone and go write these songs. It's continuing to write when you don't want to get in the ice bath when you don't want to say yes to Alex and help her with the groceries or help her with the kids when you really want to go out here and kill a turkey. Like saying, yeah, doing the right thing. And that goes back to the fruits of the spirit and making sure that that's in you. So stacking the odds is a combination of years of right decisions. And I am full, transparent, and confident when I say this, that I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've been a shithead before, but I've made good decisions, and my intentions have always been right when it comes to my fans and this music. And I'm just slowly stacking the odds towards Madison Square Garden. And when you do that in hunting, and you get to the point where you're like, all right, I've checked my wind, I've washed my clothes, I've got my bow right, I've got my fitness right, I've got my tree stand noise free, I've came in, exit, and entries. Like, I planted these grasses that hide me from this thing. And here comes this deer, and I stick an arrow through his heart. I pack out the Ryman Auditorium. That was a full circle moment. That deer laying on the ground is a full circle moment. So maybe it was a stretch. I hope it all connected. But like, it's stacking the odds and making those right decisions, because that's discipline. And that's the hardest part of all this. Like, don't eat the crap, eat good stuff, and you're going to feel better to go do it. You're going to be healthier. And this injury has really made me focus in on that. Am I as in the best shape I've ever been in? No, I'm not, but I will be. I will be.
So is it just a timing mechanism that goes off in Drake White's mind of like, it's time? Was it just time for the Ryman? Is it just going to be time when you announce Madison Square Gardens? You say that it's stacking the odds in your favor. Are they there? And how do you know they're there?
Well, that's the controllables, right? Like I can control these odds that I'm talking about. The uncontrollables, I can't I can't worry about that stuff. And I do sometimes. I do. I have a call today that is not an easy call, and I have to go for it. You've heard of the bull and the bison thing, how the bison runs straight into the storm, and the storm lasts half as long as opposed to the bull. The bull runs away from the storm, and the the storm lasts twice as long for the bull that run away from the storm, and the bison ran straight through the storm. It lasts half as long. So I run towards stuff, and I think running towards stuff scares the shit out of people because I think for the most part, you can hide behind your keyboard, you can hide behind your socials and your perception is reality type of sayings in this business and in our things. And you can never work on yourself and work on your things. And then you melt down and you start crying and something happens one day where you're just like, you've hit rock bottom. So I didn't answer your question, but like for me, it's a culmination of the moment, the opportunity coming. Like if you're always ready, you don't have to get ready. You know what I mean? Like when the opportunity comes, you know what's going to happen when I walk up on the stage with Jimmy Fallon or when I walk up on the stage of Madison Square Garden. And I'm not pompously speaking. I believe that will happen because I've dreamt it, you know, and I've never said dreamt. I've dreamed it. You know, I've dreamed these things. I've seen them in my you know, I've watched Stapleton interviews. I've watched George Strait interviews, and I love their stoicism and I love how humble they are. But man, there's no buts to that. I love that, and my heart is humble, but like I've seen those things. So if you take it pompous, that the confidence of me packing out Madison Square Garden, I battle that a lot. Like man, I hope I don't sound pompous in this. Like now after that injury and after I came out of that, like I had the authority to say, no, I'm doing this because I've seen it. I've seen it in my dreams and I'm going for it. And I'm going to give all the glory to God. And we're going to the top and I'm going to do some great things with the platform.
I love it. Are we going to get new music in 2024? Is there a new album on the horizon? Are you writing right now? What's the status of Drake White's new music right now?
So, dude, we have we're about to start releasing new music May the 10th. Um, we're going to do the kind of the waterfall thing where you just release a song a month until um, you know, we're independent artists and we're doing that by choice. You know, I used to not wave the independent flag too much because a lot of people that were waving it so hard, it was because they really couldn't get a record deal. You know, the majors, you know, either they didn't have the opportunity or whatever. But now I think that the business has changed so much that like the longer you can kind of hang in there and continue to create freely and create how you want to, I think the better off you are, the more you can own your masters and understand what these contracts say and understand long term what they mean for your business and your family and your ability to keep doing it freely. Uh, we're starting. We've got a whole record recorded. It's finished. It's in the mastering process, if you know what that means. And uh, Jonathan Singleton, he produced it, and we went down to Mississippi uh, to this little place outside of Corinth, Mississippi, and we recorded it with a bunch of great musicians. And dude, it's Appalachian soul funk, you know, just writing what I wanted to write in the moment. But it's a culmination of all of this stuff that has happened. And you know, the bridge, we just released the bridge EP, and that bridge was to get us back to this over this obstacle, which was the stroke, which was the drop record deals, which was all the stuff that you're talking about, the mind stuff, the battle between the brain, between the ears that I went through, and just getting back to a place to over that bridge and getting back to a place that made me fall in love with music and life and everything in general. And now I just have a lot more experience and I'm a lot more sound and peace kind of peaceful about it, you know.
It's kind of funny the analogy we talked about Chris Young or Chris Knight and the Burt Bridge, and your new album is about a bridge that gets you over to a peaceful spot to where you
Well,
can
the
fall.
EP is called The Bridge. That
Yes,
EP that we just released, you know, but it's all going to tie together, and I can't reveal it right yet because we haven't done that yet. But we're making you know, I wanted to make an album, and you know, who knows if that is the right. Back to your original question of do you stay in your lane? I love albums. I have a stack of them over here, from Marshall Tucker Band to Prince to you know, Run DMC, and I think I see Tupac over there. Like literally, I've got tons of albums, and we made an album. We went and made a 14-song album that is a body of work, and you know, we're about to start releasing that. So I'm extremely excited because it's been since. Well, Optimistic was an album, but Optimistic was like me shoving. I shoved a stone up a mountain for Optimistic because that was me just saying I got to release music. And nothing again. I love that album. I love the Optimistic. I love a lot of songs on it. But this has been a year and a half in the making. So
do we have a name for it yet?
yeah, I can't reveal it yet, but we're close. We're going to start releasing. We're releasing a song called 10 Pounds of Shit in a 5-pound bag, um, that we're playing live some uh, May the 10th.
May 10th on
Yeah.
all streaming services.
Yeah.
And Drake White's on tour right now. Is this the Bridge Tour?
Yeah.
And you have your
There's
good friend Adam Hood on the road with you?
Oh, man. Yeah. Adam's, you know, I don't know if you know the history between me and Adam, but I went to Auburn and graduated in 2007. Well, 2006, 5 and 4, Adam was at Fat Daddy's every Tuesday night, which is a place right down the road from the trailer park, which all of my buddies lived in. And I I was not playing music in college. I was playing some, but Adam Hood was one of the first ones that I saw that was like, oh, I can do that. You know, that's what I do. Like, and I've just always been a huge fan of Adam, and he's an example of the business will push a million people to try to open up for when you're selling tickets like we are, and not to toot our own horn, but it's Adam. I was like, I want Adam Hood because of this story, because what I'm telling you, I care about that guy. People need to hear him. He's phenomenal, and he's a family man. He loves the Lord, and he's just a great dude. So he's on the bus with us, like he's part of the band right now. So it's been a lot of fun, and he's a funny dude.
I love Adam Hood. Great songwriter. Drake White, thank you so much for being here. I could talk to you all day about your career, the business of music in Nashville. I love Nashville. I hope to have a farm like you do in the vicinity someday, in the proximity of Broadway, Music Row, Music Valley. A lot of good things going on, my man. I'm watching. I love seeing all the success, and I hope you come west. I hope you guys get some Western shows coming soon. Are you out west anytime soon?
We usually jump across the Mississippi, uh, like Q2, Q3. After we're pretty much here through June and July. Got a really cool show coming up in at the Floribama with Riley Green, and those guys. Uh, April the I think 13th, 14th, whatever that spring break deal is right there. So that'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, we'll be across the Mississippi Q3, Q4.
All right, my man. Well, thank you for being here. DrakeWhite.com. You guys all know how we feel about Drake's music. We listen to it nonstop. We were listening to it this morning. Anna V's out here right now at Tater, and we were jamming your music. We've been jamming three artists. We named two of them on here: Drake White, Adam Hood, and their great friend Brent Cobb. I think Brent Cobb's from Georgia, and then
Yeah.
Adam and Drake are from Alabama. A lot of good music coming out of that part of the country. Drake, thank you, my man.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
We'll
Have a
be
good one.
back with another episode of This Life Ain't For Everybody. Hold on 1 second, Drake White, while I sign off. This Life Ain't For Everybody brought to you by the one and only Tennessee Sour Mash Whiskey, Jack Daniels, Lynchburg, Tennessee. Enjoy it responsibly. Never allow underage drinking. I love getting about 2 fingers of Jack Daniels, Old Number 7, and listening to Drake White. I love a lot of his songs. Go get you some Back to Free. Go get you some Optimistic, the Bridge album, the EP, and I can't wait for the new 14-song album coming soon. We will announce it on our socials and all of our platforms as soon as I get more news from the great Drake White. Thank you all for the downloads and subscriptions. We'll be back at you with another episode right here. Jack Daniels presents This Life Ain't For Everybody.